Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Elevated Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Kwalanda, aka Q.
I'm your host, Jonathan Harris, aka John.
And we're so excited today because we have another special guest that John is going to tell you guys more about. If you guys have been keeping up with us, you've noticed that we've been bringing on some dope creatives that we've been speaking to, we've been interviewing and just promoting. So we're really excited for this creative entrepreneur on today's episode. And I'm going to go ahead and let John give the proper introduction to our guest today.
Today we're showcasing the creator, the founder, and the owner of Koolkidnekki.com, which was founded due to a lack of representation and celebration of artists, curators of the culture. Nekki B had a goal to create a platform that not only highlights businesses, art, and culture. She wanted to create a safe space to celebrate innovators and visionaries behind the art and creative culture of the world. So here today, we want to introduce Nekki B, and we're going to give her the floor today.
Hey, Nekki, welcome.
That's an introduction. How you guys doing? So happy. I'm so happy. I'm trying not to cheese so hard. My cheeks hurting.
It's okay.
Smiling good for you.
I know. It's just healing to the soul.
There you go. Well, Nekki, we're excited to have you on the podcast tonight. And we're definitely going to give you the floor to talk about who you are, what you do. But before we do all of that, you know, I have to do the other sidebar introduction to how we know each other.
Most definitely.
And for those of you who have listened to the podcast, you know, one of the things that John and I are very adamant about talking about is our network, you know, and our network of people and the people we surround ourselves with. And as you guys know, is it good, John?
To all my YouTube subscribers out there, I just need to get this little frog out my throat.
It's all good. You know, I got to put them on blast. But as you guys know, John and I go back, you know, 10 plus years, 15 years, but Nekki and I go back even further than that, just a little bit, because we actually met years ago when we were still in school. Nekki, I believe you were at AIU, Atlanta Intercontinental.
I was at Art Institute.
Art Institute.
Yeah.
Sorry, Art Institute of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yep, she was a student at Art Institute of Atlanta. I was at Georgia State, and we both worked at Lenox Mall. Shout out to the Banana Republic crew.
The banana boat.
The banana boat where all the struggling college students worked, okay? But Nekki, we developed a friendship working together, and we realized that we had a shared passion in common, which was at that time the film industry, entertainment, just art, creative, all of that stuff. And so me and Nekki actually partnered together and formed Shell Star Productions, which is like before QR Media, before Q Up Productions, there was Shell Star. Shell Star Productions, which basically started with Nekki and I doing event videography. We filmed, oh my God, weddings and birthday parties and events, plays, stage plays, all of the stuff that at the time we didn't really want to do, but it came in handy because it helped us to sharpen our skills behind the camera.
Young bosses.
Yeah, those are some memories.
We were trailblazers, and Nekki just was always such a sweet person who had a very genuine spirit and somebody that I just kind of gravitated to, because, you know, it's hard to find those people that are really genuine and honest about, especially when it comes to following your dreams, you know, because everybody kind of is so selfish and this I got to get mine mentality, and it's hard to grow, you know, from that. And so we kind of got our start together, and then John, of course, worked with us on some projects.
Hold on. Just to add a little more seasoning to this situation real quick. When I first met Q, I met Nekki at the same time.
That's right.
Because when we did the Warrior Within, like if y'all listen to it. Yeah, so if you listen to episode, I think we were talking about episode 1 or 2.
One. Mm-hmm.
Episode 1, where we're talking about when I first met Q. that's when I met Nikki as well, because Q came in with her backpack on, and Nikki was right there with her. I'm like, man, like, okay, you know, both of these young ladies right here. So, but it was amazing. Like, once I got to know you guys, like, just to see your style and even the fire and desire that you guys had, like, always, you know, even when obstacles came, you know, you figure things out because you always had a good, positive attitude. You and Q both, you know, if it was something you got to figure out, you're like, oh, okay, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this. And y'all made things happen. And that was always beautiful. But I ain't going to take away this part, Q.
Yes. So, Nikki, because we have a guest on the show, John and I are not going to be rude because we can talk all day. So we're going to both sit back. We're going to give you the floor to just share with the audience, you know, more in depth about who you are, what you do, your website, you know, all of the hats that you wear. Take it away. The floor is yours.
Oh, awesome. It was that was humbling to hear just like the foundation of our creative relationship with each other. That's so awesome. And I will say that has played a major part in what I've been able to do now, and like honing in on all of my skills to be able to create the projects. And as far as the website goes, I would say that also helped me with the foundation of that, just being able to celebrate people who are creative and innovative and don't necessarily always have the platforms for people to see who they are creatively. A lot of times you'll see art, a lot of times you'll hear about projects, but you very rarely get to see the person behind the vision and celebrate that person. And so it became very personal for me to do that, because I was working with another artist back in like 2010, and she was so excited to be working with an industry, like this person in the industry that was very heavy. And then the individual told her, she's like, well, it's not my responsibility to create platforms for artists. And I'm just like, well, how do artists end up finding their platforms then, like without having to create their own? And so what I'd like to do is reach out to artists that inspire me and just kind of find out a little bit more about who they are, their vision, and then how they got into whatever lane that they're in. And so I started off a lot with tattoo artists because that's something that I'm passionate about. I have a lot of tattoos. And then I also realized that those tattoo artists, you very rarely seen Black tattoo artists being celebrated. So you'll watch all these tattoo shows and there'll be all these like white artists. And then you have this misconception that Black artists couldn't tattoo on Black skin, or artists couldn't tattoo on Black skin. And I just wanted to start off with dispelling those myths, but then also celebrating the people who introduced me to just like this whole different aspect of the industry. And so the first few artists that I had, the first one was Tokyo. He's in New York, and I was following him on Instagram, and I'm just like, how do I reach out to this person that's not in the same state? And so that's how that got started. So he sent me his work, we talked over the phone, and then we did like an over the phone interview, and that kind of launched it. And so from 2015 to now, it's kind of been growing. And so it's pretty exciting. So I'm learning now also not to be so, how can I say this? Because I'm so strong-willed and I like to just feel like I can do it all. So I like would shoot the project, edit the project, and just try to do so
wear
much.
all
So
of the
now
hats. Yeah.
exactly. So I would try to wear all of the hats, and I'm just like, all right, with me trying to do that, it's getting in the way of me being able to get content out as often as I would like. And so now I'm getting comfortable trusting other people who share similar visions as myself and that have the skill set to be able to come together and work together. So it's been nice and humbling to be able to do that, but then also still be able to see the work come out the way that I would hope for it to come out. And as far as the evolution of the people that I started to interview, it kind of just segued from just the creatives to actual individuals who are doing other things that I find are innovative and important for people to see. And so I have business owners that are featured, especially during the pandemic. I got to talk to Adrian, who actually modeled for one of my brand shoots, because I do hair, I do locks, and an array of other things, but I like to focus on locks because of how I feel about the lock journey, how I feel about connecting with people when I get to maintain their locks. So my clientele is very personal for me. And I like to believe that it's the same for them, which a lot of times they do remind me that, oh, I don't want to go to anybody else. They're not going to love on my hair like you do. They're not going to take care of my hair like you do. So that makes me feel really good too. And that's how I was able to bridge the gap and use my creative platform to also market my professional platform, if you will, right? So Adrienne was one of my features because we got to talk more about her business, which is a self-care line. And I was just kind of like, how did you get into that? And I feel like people need to understand what that means for us, especially as women, but as individuals right now, trying to find our balance during such a shift in society. And so she's just like, you know, my self-care means a lot to me, and I just wanted to be able to help other people have some options to add and incorporate that into their regimen. And so I thought that was very important to be able to feature her and talk about her journey going from being a teacher to now owning a brand that's growing, and it's an amazing brand. And I don't just say that because I know her, but because it's actually effective. It smells good, it feels good, and I know it's made from love. And so to be able to have a platform where people can get their creative needs met, they can also connect with individuals that may be able to provide something that they may have not known that they needed, or they needed it and didn't know where to go to look for it. So I just wanted to bridge many gaps when I created this platform. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do it. And I'm grateful to see like how it's growing now and how it's influenced other people to do their thing, because curating the shoots, I bring together a lot of creatives, and then it ignites their flame. It's like, you know, you can do exactly what it is that you want to do, and it doesn't take you having to have all this money to do it. So don't put your dreams on hold to and wait and miss your opportunity when you have a network of people here now that can potentially help you. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of a gift that keeps on giving, and I want to be able to have it grow and continue to inspire people, and I want to continue to be able to celebrate people. And I also am proud that it's not a platform that takes advantage. You know, we have so many outlets out there that want to talk about
Clout chasing.
celebrities. Say it again.
I said clout chasing.
Yeah, clout chasing
and trolling topics or something just to get.
Exactly. And it bothers me because I'm just like, they pour so much into what they create, whether it's music, whether it's visuals, whether they're photographers, whether they're artists. Like, it doesn't matter what medium they're choosing to follow or what their purpose is. It's like, don't lose sight of the fact that these people get up every day and they're pouring into themselves and they're actively sharing it with you. And that's not always easy to do. And opposed to you celebrating their creativity and what they're bringing to the table, you're tearing them apart. Like, they've allowed you, and that's something that I really don't like about social media. It's allowed us to have access to individuals sometimes where we probably shouldn't have that much access to one another. You get what I'm saying? Because at this point, if you go on a vacation, I don't need to see what you're doing with your family be picked apart by somebody else, when I'm just here to see that you're able to take a moment for yourself to celebrate that moment with your family, and you're willing to share that with us. And now I look on this site or I look at this page and they're tearing you apart because of how you look or what you wore or who you're with. And it's kind of like, don't take away from the creative aspect of what somebody has contributed to, especially when it's artists that I love and that I value, because they've gotten me through tough times with their art. And so that's another reason that I wanted to create the platform too, is I want to celebrate individuals who have contributed to my goals and my lifestyle, and like been able to, how can I say it, have an influence on me even when they don't realize that they've had that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I do.
I think that's amazing, Nekki, because one of the key things you said was like create a safe space to celebrate the innovators and visionaries. It's hard to be a innovator or a visionary, and the reason why I say that, because when I first met you, you always had swag. You had drip before it was even called drip. You was rocking. You were rocking natural before folks was even rocking natural. You know what I'm saying? When everybody was on the creamy crack, you know what I'm saying? You know, no diss, no pun intended. To each his own. You was already rocking natural. That was way back then before everybody was doing it. So it take a lot of bravery to have your own style, to be a trendsetter, to be a pioneer, and be an innovator. So when you trying to do your thing, if somebody say, "Why you do this? Why you do?" Like, where can we be where it's a safe space for creators? Where can it be where it's platforms like our platform, like your platform, where we're celebrating people and showing and giving people a game of how we could take it to the next level of things we like about them, and give them the confidence to keep on going. And I think that's an amazing thing you're doing, and that's so beautiful.
Like, you don't have to alter yourself to fit someone else's narrative as to who you are. And I kind of struggle with that too, because like, I know Kalanda remember me when I was just young, and then my energy was just a lot, and it's just like, girl, like, pipe down. You know what I'm saying? And then also, like, you know, just the way I carried myself. But then it was a large part due to people always kind of judging me for being who I am. And so now that I'm getting older and I'm accepting every aspect of who I am, I can move forward confidently, and I don't have to be so aggressive in nature. I can just let my energy speak for itself. And even that sometimes is a lot for people because they don't understand how I got to this point. So it's like, if once you're open to embracing who you are, and you realize you don't have to prove yourself to anybody, and you can walk in your lane, I feel like you get a whole lot further. And I feel like also with creatives, or anybody for that matter, when they're still trying to find who they are, they're influenced by so many people, and it's not always in the right way. And one thing that I love about artists when they first come out is you get that organic, true to self.
Authentic, yeah.
And like, when it's music, when it's art, and then after a while you start to see them change, and it's like, are you changing because this is organic to who you are as a creative and a person, or are you changing to accommodate the people that are telling you to give them what they want versus you giving what you want from your personal space? And so that's another reason I like having my platform now, because I'm going to try to catch the creatives where they are right now. And I like those creatives that are there. I know who I am. Either you're going to take it or you're going to leave it, but you're not going to stop the progress of what I'm doing. And those are people that I like. I always tell people I love to be around giants. You get what I'm saying? I love to be around individuals. Like, even with Kalanda back in the day, it wasn't too many people, especially women, doing what she was willing to do. And then to do it with as much passion as she was doing it with. And just to know that, you know, she always spoke life into all of us. When it was just me and her, I remember saying, I don't know, Kalanda, you know, I'm still learning. And she's like, no, you got this, you know, you got this. Having someone speak life into you because they know their worth is that's something that you cannot replace. And that's a gift, in my opinion. That's a giant. That's somebody that knows that if I don't have a seat at your table, I'm going to make my own table, and I'm going to give other individuals the opportunity to sit at my table, and then take from what you gain at my table to create your own. I'm not going to try to stifle you on who you are, and I'm not going to stifle myself because somebody else told me that I don't belong here. So to me, I like to be around individuals that are like that, because that's how you create the gifts that keep on giving. You recognize your light, and so you share your light with other people. They beam up. They share their light with other people. They beam up. And that's how that's trend setting, in my opinion. So no, I don't need to do what you do. I can do what I do, but I can inspire you to do what you do based off the fact that I'm not folding on what I do. Y'all get that?
Yes.
First of all, you sound like you've been here before. So we're gonna I'm telling you, man, you just hit so much knowledge. I just caught tingles on my face. That's real deal though. That's real deal. And it makes a lot of sense. And you know, and that's so amazing that we also give people flowers while we here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it builds confidence, because you know, you always subconsciously you always feel like you're in a place where you want to please other people, because you feel like, am I good enough? Am I this? Because you're looking for that small sense of confirmation. So it's like, but if you already have that, and you have people around you that's not tearing you down, where you know you don't have to fight the world, and also fight your own people in your own corner because they talking about you, and they're like, you never have a sanctuary or a safe haven to just free your mind and be creative and think of innovative thoughts and ideas. You never have that, and I think that's so beautiful. As far as you, Kalanda, and that's a beautiful thing.
Just to take it back a little bit to what John said, earlier about Nekki, you being a trendsetter from jump, and I can really attest to that, even as a Black woman, like, and that's kind of how you inspire me, like, because during that time, like you said, even something as simple now is something as simple as rocking your natural hair. You know, like John said, back then we was all on the creamy crack. You know, I was never into like sew-ins and a lot of weave and stuff like that. But you know, Nekki, I kept my hair short, laid, slick to the side.
Yeah.
Laid and fried.
Laid and fried. And you know, you would say, oh, you would be so cute with natural hair and da-da-da. And I'm just like, girl, I don't know. And even just to see your lock journey, because I remember even just from pictures on social media and stuff, you know, you transitioning, yeah, to locking your hair and just looking at the growth and the beauty of your hair. It's just so beautiful. Yes. But just to think back and, you know, just to put it in perspective for the audience, we're talking about back in like 2008. You know, 2008, 2009, when, you know, rocking your natural hair and having your own style, dressing how you want to dress, looking how you want to look, was not really as celebrated as it is now. Because now you go on Instagram and you scroll, and of course you're going to see women with natural hair or women with their own styles. What's up, John? You want to say something?
No, I was saying, I remember Nekki came through with like the fro hawk with the peacoat. She had the collar popped up.
With the collar pop, that like, purple coat. The purple coat.
She was coming through and she was with it. She was like, hold up, wait. I said, okay.
And don't forget the scarf. Don't forget the scarf.
And that scarf around that boy tuck. I said, she with it, though. But it was a beautiful thing because it was her.
Yeah.
It was her, and she was real. Like, you can have real conversations, and that's what I'm saying. It's beautiful. Like, you're not altered with like, I gotta be this because of this. Be who you want to be, man. And we gotta forget the world. The world is judgmental only if you care. Only if you care. If they selling something like, oh, you ain't tried to Popeye chicken, I'm like, man, I'm straight. I'm good. I don't care. Like, who cares? Like, I'm not about to be waiting on, like, who cares about what somebody say? We're like, we got to do this because we care what they say. Oh, we got to go over here. Be you. And I love what you're doing. And I love what you're doing, man. Y'all two beautiful, powerful queens, Black queens, you know what I'm saying? And if you don't prefer the term Black, I said beautiful, melanated, beautiful queens. And
we embrace it all. You know we embrace it all. Yeah. And I just think going back to, you know, what you were saying about your platform, your website, like John said, that positivity is such a beautiful thing because, yeah, we have the blogs and it's okay here and there, you know, when you want to escape from reality and when it's just news, bad news, it's okay to get a little gossip here and there. But like you said, as artists and as creatives, where are our platforms? Because everybody may not want to create their own platform. Everybody probably doesn't want to start a podcast. Everybody doesn't want to launch a website, but that doesn't mean that they can't showcase their talents. You know, and they can, you know, so I love the fact that your site, you know, really, and it's a dope, and we're going to put the link and everything on there, but it's just, it looks so good. Like, and it makes you want to be creative. And I think one of the things you touched on was that how you bring people together. You bring creatives together, you know, from models to photographers to artists, and you can't really put a dollar sign on that. Like we had another episode where we did when we were talking to Chris James, photographer.
That's so exciting. Sorry, go ahead.
And Nekki remembers him, of course.
Beautiful. You remember? Beautiful.
Beautiful, pretty eyes. You got some pretty eyes. We love you, Chris. You know, but he was saying something similar to, you know, how he kind of got his foot through the door by doing photography for his coworkers and for his friends who needed headshots and photo shoots. And you can't really place, you know, a dollar. And we're going to talk about monetizing your gifts as well later. But just getting to the core of that, like that's something like you may not even realize that you're inspiring that person to keep going.
One thing I wanted to ask you about your platform, Nekki, was on your platform, are all of your endeavors on one website as far as your creative platform, your hair care, your personal hair business, and I mean, as being a loctician, and also your self-care line and products? Is it all on one website?
Okay, so you have the creative platform, which is koolkidnekki.com. And then
Mm-hmm.
you can find out about the Nekki B styles on the link. So it's koolkidnekki.com/Nekki B styles. There is a shop on there. The Infinite Cool shop, however, was more so like merch that I started back. That was back in like 2016. So you can still get that merch, like the shot glasses and stuff. But I'm going to start adding the healthy hair care line on there. Right now you can just custom order that, and I'll custom make it for my clients or whoever's interested in that. So I haven't put that up there yet, just because I'm trying to figure out the best way to bridge that gap, because somebody who might be a little bit older might not want to click on the store and see I love dope shit on there, or they be like, like, I don't think that's for me. So right now I'm in the process of creating another shop, and I'll have that link to the site so that if you want to go specifically for your hair, you also can buy your product there. But right now, koolkidnekki.com, the shop that's on there, is more so for like your Infinite Cool merch and your melanin hoodies and things of that nature.
Okay.
Hold on, John. Sorry, before we move on to that, let me ask you a technical question, Nekki, because we always like to take into consideration our audience members who, no matter where they are in their journey. So there may be somebody who wants to launch a blog, or who wants to launch a creative platform or any kind of website. You know, how did you exactly, how did you decide how to format your website, and which avenues did you take to build the website? So like kind of walk us through that just a little bit, like, because, you know, we know, of course, everything starts with an idea. So how did you kind of take that from an idea and a thought to actually building that platform?
To making it tangible.
Right.
So what happened was, I always knew I wanted the site. It was just, I was overwhelmed with how that would happen, and then being able to maintain it on my own. And so at the time, the person that I was dating, he was very good at building sites. So he was just like, what do you want it to look like? And so I told him, well, I want it to look like this. And so I have reference sites that I have been following and that I liked. And so it started off with WordPress. And so then we transitioned. I have GoDaddy hosting it. So technically it's still WordPress templates. And then because of how he did things, we were like cutting and pasting. So boom, we're gonna take this, then we're gonna take this, and then how do you want this to look? All right, boom, so we're gonna take this. So my site technically cannot be recreated by somebody else because of how it was cut and pasted together. So even now, when I do have technical difficulties, this now is the part where a lot of people have to be mindful. So if you know that you want something that's easy for you to navigate, and you don't want to always have to call someone on the outside to help you navigate it, you should pick a platform that's a little bit more designed toward what it is that you want to do. And so plus side is, I've learned how to navigate technical terms that I've never would have learned how to navigate before. And I know how to fix things that I never would have thought I would have been able to do. And so a friend of mine, he's like, you're your own tech team now. And I was just like, yeah, after 2 days crying my eyeballs out because I thought I was going to have to buy a whole new site. But then you also have to be sturdy, right? You can't fold. Because when I tell you, I was on the phone with GoDaddy, then I had to call WordPress, and then they're like, well, it's going to cost you this. And then one of my friends, like, being frustrated, like, they're just trying to get your money, Nick, just be patient. And I'm like, all right, cool. So going from that to finally being like, all right, I can Google, you have to be patient enough to want to figure it out. So I had to get really patient, and I had to start researching every aspect of the behind the scenes things that were kind of giving me issues. It's like, okay, well, I'm having a hard time uploading content right now, and I don't understand why. So now I'm on the phone with this person from GoDaddy, and he's like, all right, let me dig in from the back end. And then also making sure you're protecting your site. So you have your firewall up, you're protecting your site from spam, you're protecting your site from being hacked, you're making sure that your site is set up so if anybody enters information, it's secure. So it took a lot based off of how I had it done. But now that I understand how to navigate it, I'm thankful in the same sense, because now I know that if I ever do decide that I want to switch platforms and have it be a little bit, the layout for me on the back end be a little bit easier to navigate, exactly what to tell the person that, hey, this is how I want my site built, this is how I need to be able to navigate it on the back end. And I know exactly what they're doing. So they're not, oh, it's gonna cost you $1,000, bro. That's gonna cost $50.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's so important because a lot of people don't take the time. You know, everybody wants to be a boss, but nobody wants to make boss moves, right? Which everything you just described, that's real boss moves. Like boss moves is not just flexing and showing how much money you got or your new purse or, oh, I have a car. Like it's actually knowing how to do the grunt work and knowing how your business operates. And even, you know, as far as operating a website, you brought up some very valid points, especially if you're going to be selling merchandise, if you're going to have an online store. Well, especially these days, you have to have protection for your customers, because if something happens, you don't want to be liable for that. And then also you don't want your site to be vulnerable to being hacked. And then you also don't want somebody to steal your site. You know, you have your own domain, you have everything copyrighted and protected. And those are all valuable and important things.
Yeah, it's a lot that goes into it. At first, it was just like, it's when I had someone there, like to help navigate it, that's one thing. But then also, I'm going to say this: if you create something and the person that you're dealing with is not your spouse, make sure that you understand the back end before you guys go your separate ways, because you will be sitting there looking like boo boo the food. Like, I do not want to call this person. Lord have mercy, I don't want to call this person. You get what I'm saying? And then depending on how that happened, how that transition happened, you don't want it to be like just this. You don't want to be anxious knowing that you're trying to move forward with your brand, and then they're just like, I ain't help you with nothing. So now it's like, damn, I got to figure this out. So consider those things too. Like, make sure that whatever it is you putting your heart into and your creative passions, like when you start bringing that together, keep in mind what you're going to need to do to be able to navigate. God forbid something happens and you don't have access to whomever helped you get it started.
Yeah,
So
you can't just put all of your trust into that person.
One person.
Even if it's not necessarily somebody you're dating, but even if it's an assistant that you hire or an intern, you know, you want to make sure that you know and understand what they're doing, even though it's good to not navigate, what's the word, delegate, to be able to delegate those tasks. But at the end of the day, you still should be able to do it, you know, yourself as well. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, John. I'm sorry we had cut you off.
Oh no, we all good. We good. Well, I know I wanted to talk about the your self-care line as well. I know you mentioned that earlier, and I wanted you to kind of go with exactly what is your self-care line and what made you start that self-care line.
Okay, so Adrian has the self-care line. So that's more so your butters, your body scrubs, and things of that nature. I have a healthy hair care line. I focused on the hair care line because I feel like you have so many options when it comes to self-care and hair care. But for me specifically, I wanted to be able to provide something to my clients that I can stand on. And so I know for sure that it works because I use all natural products and ingredients. I prefer everything to be in glass. Everything is made with love and it's handmade. So for me, I have a hair mist, I have a scalp oil, and I have a lock butter. You can use it on your freeform hair if you don't have locks. The reason I made it too is because for people, a lot of my clients would come to me from excuse me, from other locticians, and I would struggle with, I had a lot of people with thinning. I had a lot of people with lock buildup. And then I also had a lot of clients who were just like, I don't do anything to my hair. And it's like, oh, so you just ready for your plant to dry up and fall all out. That's what you're saying. So I wanted to create an option for them. And so I always ask based off of my experience working in the salon. And one of the first salons that I got to work in was Mirror Salon at Carol's Daughter. And one of the founders for the salon was Robin Gruber, and she's really big on healthy hair. And at the time, you had a lot of women who were natural, but they still wanted to be able to get their silk outs and wear their hair straight occasionally. So she found a healthy way to do that. And so one of the things that got my wheels rolling when it came to healthy hair was how we would have to do the consultations. And so I took that, and I still carry that with me to this day. And one of the first questions we will always ask is, when did you fall in love with your hair? And you'd be surprised how many people don't love their hair. And what regimen do you have at home? And so you have all these women who have all this different products, and then it's like, well, none of that product is really good for your hair. It's coating your hair. That's why your scalp is itching. That's why you feel, it feels really moisturized when you first wash it, but then the next day it's like back to being dry. So I learned a lot about your moisture retention. I learned a lot about porosity. I learned a lot about having products, how to layer your products. So you always want to layer your products in a way where you're retaining moisture. When you retain moisture, that's where you get your length. And so a lot of people with locks don't realize it's the same thing. So you need to be able to layer your moisture and retain your length. And then you also want to make sure that you're cleaning your hair effectively. So that misconception of, oh, I don't have to wash my hair as often, you want to water your plant. So even if you're not washing your hair every other day, or for some people, they're not even washing their hair once a week because of their lifestyle, you still want to make sure that you're feeding your hair. So I tell people this is your active living plant, and you need to nurture it. So I created the hair mist with aloe, rose water, and pH balanced water. I love rose. I love using everything that's natural, and I want you to be able to retain your moisture naturally. And an alternative, sometimes I'll use coconut water, but it needs to be organic coconut water, because you're not just feeding your hair water, you're feeding your hair the minerals that it needs, the vitamins that it needs. And you need to be drinking a lot of water and eat a lot of green leafy vegetables because you want to take care of your body from the inside out, but we won't get into that right now. And then I created the mist, right? So when I say layer it, you want to do a method where you do your mist, you mist your hair, and then you do your butter. You can do a little bit of butter, and then you do your oil last. And your oil, what the oil does is it seals it in. And so I basically did what I knew my clients needed. And occasionally I offer hair masks because I have a lot of clients that they need a lot of TLC. I don't know what it is about me that attracts everybody that needs the TLC, but I get the people that are like, I just need you to bring me back. And I think it's because of the love I put into it, because you have a lot of locticians and stylists here. They are good at what they do. They're good at making your hair look good. But when it comes to nurturing your hair, it's a lot of individuals that are not, they're not going to be patient enough to help you through a regimen. You get what I'm saying? So if you start your lock journey with me, I'm going to send you a whole regimen. You get what I'm saying? We're going to go through a whole process. You're going to come, we're going to consult, we're going to talk about your product, we're going to get you on a regimen that works for you. And I'm not going to start your hair if you're not even sure about your process, or if you're not even sure how you're going to maintain it. So I just feel like that was a necessity. So I started out of necessity. I use it on myself. I mist my hair with my mist. I oil my scalp with it. I twist my hair with my butter. I use a lot of hemp oils. I use a lot of grapeseed, jojoba oils. I like lighter oils. I use heavier oils when it gets a little cooler so that we can retain our moisture, because we get a little bit drier once it gets colder. So that's when you get your avocado oils and things of that nature. So yeah, that's pretty much how that started and how that became something that I became passionate about as well.
You said that so amazingly. And I can see why people, you have so many returning clients and customers, because you speak with passion and you speak from a place of like real deal, what they say, TLC, tender love and care, you know what I'm saying? The next thing I want to ask you, Nekki, is past tense and hindsight and now. Like, what inspired your style? Like, even from when I first met you, being kind of like being just being an original person, even to today, what kind of like got you into your own custom style?
For me, I would say I've always seen like my grandmother and my aunts, like her sisters, they always carried themselves with such grace. So I'm still learning what grace is, and like my divine feminine. I don't know if you guys are on that way, but like just embracing my femininity. So I always seen them look good. Like my granny, even when she's going out into the garden, she has her garden hat, she has her garden sweater. She always looks the part. Even when she has her sweats on, her sweats need to match her tennis shoes. So that was a part of it. And then also my good friends back in the day when I first moved to Atlanta, Renee and Kristen. So Renee was from New York, and that was my first time seeing. You remember Mean Girls? Like, she was like the first Black mean girl. She's not mean, but like she just always carried herself
Her
like that. She had
style.
her little Shih Tzu and her purses, and she always wore like these pretty dresses. And then when Kristen came along, I remember telling her, I'm like, I could wear jeans and a t-shirt, and it don't look nothing like when you wear jeans and a t-shirt. She's like, because it's just about accessorizing. And so she would have on jeans and a t-shirt, and then boom, she has on her rings and her bracelets, and then it's just like, oh, so I already have these about how I do these things. And so it was basically like, I don't ever like to look like anybody else. I'm really big on individuality, okay? But it's working with what I got to be able to express myself. So seeing both of them be able to express themselves, and they were both fashion majors. So because they were fashion majors, it was like a light bulb went out. It's like, oh, so I honestly was already kind of doing my thing. You just helped me see it from a different angle. So boom, now I can beam up. And that's pretty much how it is. It's like taking my own thing and having somebody like, yeah, you got it, just finesse it a little bit, you know? And so now it's like, oh, so I could finesse it in a way that fits me. So me already having my own style, but then being inspired by these two individuals that had their own style. But then it's just like, yeah, just finesse it a little bit. You ain't got to do too much. And then also realizing too that, oh, I don't have to go spend a bag to look the way that I want to look. And so working in retail helped with that. You get what I'm saying? So working in retail, learning how to bargain shop, and being able to buy a $120 coat for $40, or being able to buy these $50 jeans for $10. You get what I'm saying? That's how that came about. As far as my hair, I always grew up around my aunts and uncles and my family on my dad's side who were really natural. So my granny hated perm. She's just like, what you putting that mess in your hair for? You get what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff was just something for her that was just like, you don't have to do that to feel pretty. And so also my mom, I used to tease my mom. I would be like, you so ghetto fabulous, and she would laugh. And now to this day, like, I realize that I'm a lot like her too, in the sense of I like having my nails done and my eyebrows done. So seeing like very two extreme on the spectrum. So my mom being more of a diva personality, and then my aunts and my granny being like that grace. So bringing that together, and then the culture, of course. I love hip hop. I always like, watching the videos just to see, or watching the award show just to see what people would be wearing. So being able to put all that together kind of shaped how I am, I guess, in a sense. And so now
that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so, I don't know the word other than awesome and amazing. I hate to sound so corny. John always be calling me corny, but because like today you have so many, it's like this standard look of beauty for women, like what they call like the build the bodies and the Instagrams. And, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I'm definitely somebody who believes,
It stresses me out because, like, I had a young girl that I do one-on-ones with, and it just bothered me because I'm like, you're so pretty. Like, you are, like, you're 14. Like, you shouldn't be worried about your shape. I understand that at 14, you do want to be cute. You do see your friends who, they have these natural bodies. But then at 14, you shouldn't be worried about training your waist or training your body to achieve a shape that's going to come naturally. And I had to tell her that. I'm like, your shape is going to come naturally. You don't have to do anything to modify your body. It's going to come naturally. You get what I'm saying? Your hips are going to fill out when you start doing things that make your hips fill out. Don't rush the process. You get what I'm saying? Like, you going to go through it naturally. So just embrace where you are right now. You get what I'm saying? And so, like, it just bothers me that these women, and I remember watching Jenny Jones and being like, wow, and all you saw when you remember Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake, where they would have those episodes where all those white ladies would get on there and they got all these implants and botched face surgeries. And here we are 15, 20 years later, or even more than that, and look at the face of cosmetic surgery now. And what that message is telling these young girls, that your natural body isn't enough. And then if it's not enough, as long as you have enough money or you dealing with the right man, you can get it fixed. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with somebody that decides to go ahead and
But I feel like you should do it. The issue comes in is your reason for doing it, because there's some people that have had plastic surgery, that have had fillers. You would not know it. You can't tell because they still have a natural look. But then you have some people who want to go for the certain standard, and they want to do it not for themselves, but to be, like John said, accepted, you know, to have that acceptable standard of beauty instead of embracing their original look. Go ahead, John.
I just want to add to what you were saying, Q. I think sometimes less is more. And I think that anytime we overindulge, and that's on anything, too much of anything is bad. Too much water, you could drown. Our bodies is made, 76% water, you know what I'm saying, skin and everything. Too much water, you could drown. You drink gallons and gallons of water, you can create blood clots behind your eyes, everything. Too much air, you can suffocate. Google it. You see what I'm saying? So when you, like, too much oxygen, you know what I mean? So it got to have a balance. So when people get, you know, like, when I was young, I had braces, you know what I'm saying? So my teeth looked like I bit a cinder block, you know what I'm saying? But that was kind of like, you know, more minute, you know what I mean? So, you know, your mom just helped you kind of whatever. So you said I had braces, and then we were kind of poor. So my braces was on for like 5-6 years. I know a good 5 years, but it's still like, that's cosmetic, but it's not like, oh, let me do this. Let me, you know, it's small things, but we got to let people know. We got to have platforms like yourself, Nekki, and, like, you know, so people can embrace just being who they are. Like when you were talking about original artists, it's hard for me to find music to listen to. I mean, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm over the hill a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I'm throwing my hands up, I'm going downhill after this, you know what I mean? So, like, I'm at that age, I don't want to listen to murder, kill all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know, I'm not doing the crybaby and all that stuff, you know, no pun intended, but it's like what we listening to. I mean, I used to have music to kind of get you through your day. Sometimes you have music when you're feeling sour. Sometimes you have music when you're feeling motivated. Sometimes you have music when you want to feel inspired, or just feel like, man, it's gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, where do we find that at? Where do we look at that? And there's like platforms like yourself where it showcase people, where we have a collective of individuals doing their own thing.
Yeah. And Nekki, going back to one of the things I had kind of mentioned, and we're not going to hold you too much longer, so we're going to wrap it up soon. But I was watching one of your IGTV. I don't know what it's called. John, no, I'm so bad at social media. The Instagram TV video thingy.
IGTV, you got it right. IGTV.
Okay. IGTV, where it was around the time when, and at the time of this recording, which I think, John, this episode will actually drop this Friday, January 14th. So it was around the time where everything happened at the Capitol, you know, and you were mentioning in your video, you were kind of expressing how in our generation, we've seen so much, like, from the recession. And if you remember, we were that was in 2008. We were working at Banana Republic, so we were working in retail, of all places, during the recession, where they're pressuring us to get people to sign up for a store credit card, and we like, are y'all serious?
What get the sunshine in your pocket? Excuse me. What?
The recession hit so hard. Y'all don't remember when gas was like $4 some change?
Yeah.
I'm up there shaking, so I'm like, man, I got like $2 some change, man. I'm trying to make it up the street. You know what I mean?
Right. So you had like the recession, you know, take it further back to 9/11, September 11.
Most definitely.
You know,
Most definitely.
You got the craziness with the Trump presidency and the Capitol, and then not to even mention all of the police shootings, which has always been an issue. It's just, and it trips me out when people act like it's something new. It's just been brought to the forefront.
Yeah.
You know? And another thing, people are like, oh, this is the worst thing that our country has seen, or our country has never. And I'm just like, you know, Black people are like, we done had tragedies from day one. What are y'all talking about? And so just kind of in the midst of all of that, like, Nekki, just talk a little bit about how you how you yourself are able to kind of stay positive and motivated and grounded with your art and with the things that you're passionate about, because it can be hard, you know, when you look at the world around you, and you know, like John and I were talking about earlier, everything is a spiritual warfare, but it's like, and it's like you have to protect your energy. So like, how do you protect your energy and keep the positivity, the positive vibes with everything going on and everything that we've been experiencing over the past few years?
I think for me, more than anything, last year the pandemic taught me to be obedient. I think everybody, when it first hit, everybody was all panicky, and for me, I was just like, "What? I get to be at home and get a check and chill out." And with that, it was more so I got tapped back in spiritually, because a prayer for me for a long time was just having a relationship with my Creator, with God. And being able to navigate that relationship the way that I've been called to navigate that relationship, especially like struggling and trying to find, like back in the day, I was trying to find a church home, trying to find safe spaces. And then it really just took me saying, you know what, God, I just want my relationship with you to be what it's supposed to be. And then more recently, toward the end of last year, it was like a light bulb went off. And the light bulb went off. It was kind of like, all of this stuff that's happening right now, if you believe in your spiritual well-being, it's happening to be a distraction from who it is that we really are and who you really have been designed to be. And so once that light bulb went off, it was just kind of like I kicked in the gear. I'm like, you know what? I'm not of this world. I'm here having this lived experience right now, and this is all that's happening around me. But if I get caught up in that, then that means I'm not trusting God to navigate in my life the way that I've asked him to navigate and guide in my life. So if I'm constantly asking you for guidance, but I'm letting these distractions get in the way of that, then am I really trusting you? Am I trusting myself? And am I trusting the process? And so being able to, what my granny say, chew the hay and spit out the stubble. So be able to watch it, but not take it in. You get what
Not
I'm saying?
internalize it. Yeah.
Yeah, don't internalize it. So I can watch it and not internalize it. I can watch it and say, all right, God, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing, and how am I supposed to be navigating? And I think that's the difference when it comes to individuals who are still able to push through and really walk in their purpose, and then people who are just feeling helpless. So it's like, are you feeling helpless because you want to be able to change the trajectory of everything that's going on? Let's be realistic. How much change are you going to do when this this is beyond you? You get what I'm saying? This is beyond you. So understand who you are and whose you are. And so that's been a consistent message for me, is to understand whose you are. So be obedient. So am I going to get caught up in this, or am I going to be obedient? Because if I get caught up in this, I'm going to block my blessing. So I've been asking for these opportunities to create, and this is my space to do that. Even though the world is telling me, oh, you got to do this, you got to feel this way, but God is telling me something else, I'm going to go with the source. And I think sometimes it takes tapping in and understanding who you are to be able to do that. So for me, I do a lot of meditating, I do a lot of reading. Like I got back to reading my Bible, but then in conjunction to that, I read a lot more books that are centered around love, books that are centered around like how to control your energy, because it is easy to get anxious. Because sometimes I will get anxious. I'd be like, shit, car note due, insurance due, rent due, gas due, you know?
Baby
But
need
then I'll be like, God, let me take it to the table. Like, all right, God, this is where I'm at right now. And then like in that moment where instead of me giving into what's stressing me out, especially what's going on in society, I lean on, you know what I'm saying, my prayer, my meditation, and my relationship with God. And then boom, it'll be like phone blowing up.
And even though, and going back to what you said, even though we can't change the world, like the entire earth, we all have our own worlds. And even going back to your platform and back to your website and even to your clients, you know, who you teach them about their hair. And like you said, even just the health, because it starts on the inside. Like that's our world that we're granted to change and to influence and to impact. And even with this platform, like with the podcast, like with me and John, even if, you know, we may be feeling down or no matter what, like John has been such a good positive. Well, he's always been a positive vibe in my life, but even just lately, you know, where I may not necessarily, you know, be feeling in the mood to inspire and to put out positivity, because it's hard if you don't have it in you, but it pays to surround yourself with the right type of people. And John, thank you for being that person in my life, you know, to just kind of push me and to be that gentle voice and that constant reminder, like, no, Q, there's a purpose, there's a reason for this. You know, the world needs this right now. And Nekki, thank you for being that too, for your, you know, with your platform, and like I said, with your clients, and don't ever, you know, negate what your image, I'm trying to see how I can say this. Like, sometimes we put our images out there through social media, and we may just put up a post and it's just a post and we don't think about it, but you never know how that may impact the recipient or whoever sees it, whether it's a video or a picture. And John is good for that too. Like, John is always putting up inspirational, you know, pictures. And sometimes I'm like, what's John so happy about over there? Like, John, sit down somewhere. But he's right. He's living, he's thankful. And, you know, and I'm sorry, y'all, we got about 6 minutes left. Go ahead, John. I see you've been, it's been
I mean, no, it's all good. Just to elaborate to what you guys are saying, which is very powerful. And Nekki, you hitting some jewels, and you really speaking a colloquial language that a lot of us understand, including myself. You know, I'm telling most definitely. So one thing about it is the universe will answer whatever you want. If you know, you got to believe. When we say, you want to just say, okay, I'm gonna do a positive affirmation. You can say, oh yeah, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. You close out. Do you really believe that? But like, when you look at it, oh, they doing this, they doing that. Before, hey, it's levels to it. Before I can even get to level 20 and level 90, I'm not on that level. Let me beat level 1 first. Let me focus on what matters with me and mine. Everything matters to me because it starts with me. So even if I choose to go down this lock journey, you building people into things. Like, somebody might say, okay, what's the difference between regular locks and sister locks? So what's between? It's a whole journey, it's a whole thing. And when you start doing that subconsciously, you build a confidence in people. Subconsciously, you're providing. We use our platforms as our voice, and our voice is powerful. The words we use is very low-key spells almost. And I ain't saying it like no magical way. I'm just saying it like,
you do. Yeah. That's what they say. You write it out. You write it out.
So
speak it out, and you affirm it.
Yeah, you give it life.
But even with, like, motivational wise, if I don't have nothing good to say, why put more negative in the world?
Right.
Why am I adding more trash adding more trash in the atmosphere? You know what I'm saying? So let me motivate and inspire. That's why this is elevated creativity. So we motivate and inspire creators to take their talents to the next level. It don't matter if you say, well, I just want to draw, then if everything is, oh, you shouldn't do this, it's like, man, I ain't studying that.
Right.
But let's like you used a good word. You said a plant. So your inner space is a plant. Water that plant. Give it sunlight. Give it good energy. Give it nutrients. And then you feel like, man, like, it's cool. If I'm gonna be around Q and I'm down and she down, we might well just cut the lights off and go to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate you, Nekki, and I ain't gonna run my mouth. But
I feel so good. Like,
So Nekki, let's please let our audience know how they can find you, how they can follow you, how they can support you. For those who are in the Atlanta area who may be looking for a loctician, who may be wanting to start their lock journey, or artists, creative artists that may want to be featured on your platform. Just, you know, take the time. We have about 4 minutes. You know, let the people know how they can find you, how they can get in touch with you.
Okay. As far as the creative platform, if you would like to be featured on the platform, that make me really happy. You can DM me at Koolkidnekki on Instagram. That's easier for me. If not, you can do Koolkidnekki420@gmail.com. It's 420 for my birthday, not for the cannabis, but I don't judge. You feel me?
Cool Kid Nekki is with the K, by the way, guys.
Koolkidnekki. So I'm Koolkidnekki on Instagram. If you want your lock TLC, you want your hair maintenance, it's Nekki B Styles, Nekki. the letter B, and then Styles, Styles. And it's Koolkidnekki on Twitter. It's Koolkidnekki on Snapchat. It's Koolkidnekki on YouTube. It's pretty much Koolkidnekki across the board because it's not just a name; it's a lifestyle.
There you go.
That's what I'm talking about. Come on now. Come on now.
Which ties into last week's episode where we talked about that marketing and branding and how everybody is a brand and how important that is for people to be able to find you. So pretty much, guys, if you Google Koolkidnekki, Nekki B Styles, she gonna come up.
The girl gonna pop up. I Googled myself the other day and I got a little cocky. I was like, oh, is this me? Okay. I'm excited.
I would tell all my listeners to make sure they follow this John Boss, but boss is an understatement. Y'all make sure y'all follow this queen doing queen things and support. We don't need fans over here. We need supporters because I understand, like, you know, y'all want to support. Hey, let's focus on what matters. What matters to us, the culture, and everything. But I had another question, but I'm not gonna do it. We good.
You sure? What's the question?
The question so quick though is, and make it fast. How important is it to control our narrative?
Oh, it's significant because it's a part of legacy building and history. We need to be able to tell our own stories because our young people need to know who we are, what we come from, and what we're capable of. We are kings and queens. You get what I'm saying? We are walking manifestations of the Most High. You need to understand like who you are and whose you are, and you can't lose sight of that because so much has gone into us being who we are, and we owe it to the next generation to make sure that they are being told the truth. And I'm gonna wrap it up right there because you know I'll go on about that.
Come on now.
That was such a great answer. Yes. Okay, so we're happy to leave you guys for wanting more and craving more. It doesn't have to end here. If you guys have questions or comments, please drop them below in the description box, in the comment section. The timer is giving me anxiety because we got like 30 seconds. But anyways, drop a comment below, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You know, make sure you follow the podcast. Nekki, thank you again so much, guys. This has been another episode of the Elevated Creativity Podcast, and we will catch you next time. Don't forget to follow me and John as well.